This last week, I received a question from a young person about what du'as they can make to have an easy life. And what du'as can they make to Allah? Are there any special dhikr they can do or any practices they can do that they can get what they want? Like there's something they really want, they're praying for it, they really want to have it, and what can they do to make sure that they get that? And I thought it was a very profound question, and I also thought that it's a question that many, many people have. And what I wanted to dedicate this khutbah to is the roots behind that question. Sometimes as a teacher, in my own experience, and also as a student, some of my best teachers, when they heard a question from me, they didn't answer my question. They analyzed, they saw the question as the fruit, and they tried to get to the root and address the root. Because simply answering the question would actually not address the root problem, if you get what I'm saying. So behind this question, there's actually an entire way of thinking about reality, a way of thinking about Allah, a way of thinking about life, and it's connected to all of that. It's connected to essentially a worldview. So it's probably best to start at the root instead of addressing the fruit or addressing the branch. And that's what I'm hoping to do in this brief few minutes that I have with you. And I want to start, because this was asked by a young person, I want to start with something that hopefully a lot of young folks, probably a lot of old folks like myself too, can relate to, and that's video games. Video games are pretty addictive, and they're a lot of fun, and people of all ages enjoy them. But there's a psychology behind video games. You know exactly what you have to put in, and you'll know exactly what you'll get out. There's a certain way to beat this boss. There's a certain way to unlock this level. There's a certain way you have to go about moving from one level to the next, one boss to the next, one puzzle to the next, etc. If you want to earn, coin, you want to level up, or you want to rank up, there are rules inside the video game. The programmers, the developers of the game, they create these rules inside this world that they create, and you follow those rules. And so long as you can follow those rules, the better you are at following the rules, the more results you're going to get. Exactly. So if you do this, you're going to move up. There are no surprises. There is no mystery. And that's why people that are hardcore gamers and they're having a hard time with a particular game or a level or something, they'll go to YouTube, to their YouTube, walkthrough sheikh, and have them walk. This is how you do it. You see, let me be your murshid and guide you to press X, hold L1, and then do this, and then you'll win. Okay, so now the rules are set for you to succeed. It's not all that different from sports, even though sports has some more unpredictability. But even in sports, here's the field. In many sports, it's shaped like a rectangle. And here's your objective. If you can meet that objective, you win. If you don't meet that objective, you fail. It's simple, clear. That's all you got to do. This is what's required of you. Okay? Life doesn't work that way. In life, two people are putting in exactly the same amount of work, and one of them gets a lot of benefit from that work and the other one doesn't. Many of you are students in university or school, or I know many of you have summer off right now, but you put in so much work to try to pass an exam and you barely got a 70. And the friend of yours, who's clearly no longer a friend, didn't even remember that there's an exam. And they got a 75. It's not fair. I did all this stuff and you did nothing. And then you went out of your way to be top of your class, to be the 4.0 GPA, to be the valedictorian, all this stuff, because you had this entire plan in your head. First, I'm going to be the best at school, then I'm going to ace my interviews, then I'm going to get this job, then I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do that. This whole plan was laid out. And then you had a friend who was like, yeah, I don't know what I want to do with my life, man. I don't know. And then you both graduate, and 3 years have gone by, you can't find a job, and he already got a 6-figure offer before he graduated. And you're looking at that and like, that doesn't seem fair. I did all this work. They're the one getting all this benefit. This is not the same as a video game. In fact, some psychologists even argue people are drawn to video games because life is simpler inside the game. Because you follow the rules and you get these results. But outside the world of the video game, it doesn't matter how many rules you follow, you don't get the same results. Everybody's getting different results. And this young person who's saying, hey, is there a cheat code in Islam that says if I do this dua, and if I do this dhikr, this many times, then this will unlock for me in life. This will open up for me. This blessing will come in my way, right? Is there something I can get that can do this? And by the way, this is not just a teenager. You have old people coming in saying, can you give me one dhikr that I can convince my son to marry this girl or do this or this? Or, can you? And everybody's looking for a cheat code, like in the video game, like a walkthrough from within Islam to try to figure out how they can make life easy. And my first answer to that question is why? Why do you want life to become easier? Because we are now wrapped up in a worldview where the ultimate objective of my life is to actually be happy. Like the highest thing I can reach, if I had that, life would be good if I was happy. And the amazing thing about what we call in America, of course, proudly, the pursuit of happiness, isn't it? The incredible thing about pursuing happiness is the most depressed people are the people that are trying to be happy. They're just, it's a fleeting, constantly escaping thing. I can be very happy when I'm eating ice cream and then it's over. And now I'm sad that I ate ice cream and I have to pay the consequences, right? So this idea that we're running after this thing, if I have this, I will be happy. Quran will describe very clearly the delusional nature of that kind of thinking. And Allah Azza wa Jal will describe it in an analogy in Surah Al-Hadid and describe it as فَتَرَاهُ مُصْفَرًّا. Like the farmer who was going to be so happy that his crop is growing and then he's just going to watch it turn yellow. It's going to go dry. Like his ultimate goal was, man, when this farm grows tall and the stalks grow tall, I'm going to make all my year's worth of money. It's finally going to pay off. I did all the work. I did everything right. It's going to pay off. And Allah says, فَتَرَاهُ مُصْفَرًّا ثُمَّ يَكُونُ حُطَامًا. You'll see it turn yellow. It'll turn something into crust that you just step on. There's nothing now. There's nothing now. So the first thing that I want to share with you is, maybe we're pursuing the wrong. I'm not saying you shouldn't be happy. Hopefully by the end of this khutbah you'll be clear about that. I'm not saying you shouldn't be happy. What I am saying is we're looking for the wrong goal to be happy. We're looking for so what is the right goal is what I'm trying to get at. Instead of saying my purpose is to be happy, the Quran is actually arguing happiness is a byproduct of when you live purposefully. When you have a clear purpose, you want to accomplish something meaningful in your life. You want to do something, you want to make the most of what Allah has given you. And what Allah has given you is not the same as what He gave the next person and the next person and the next person. For some people, they can sleep and pass the test. Some people can stay up a whole year and barely pass the test. Allah has not given everybody the same ability. I used to teach, full-time, I used to teach Arabic. And I had some students that barely attended class and were on top of everything. And I did not like them. And then there were students who used to work so hard, they would get there 1 hour before class starts, they would stay 2 hours after class ends, working, and at the end of like a year of teaching them, I had to say, مَا خَلَقَهُ اللَّهُ لِلْعَرَبِيَّةِ. Like Allah did not create this person for Arabic. Like he's an engineer, he's an amazing engineer, he's a genius in his field. Can't do nahu, this is not for him. And for somebody else, it's easy. What I'm trying to get at is, one, unlike a video game or unlike a sport where you follow this and you'll get this result, then you could see somebody else did it and they got that result, so you could look at somebody else and follow their way. You can't do that in life. And that's not what Quran is describing. In fact, the Quran is actually prescribing the opposite. وَلَا تَتَمَنَّوْا مَا فَضَّلَ اللَّهُ بِهِ بَعْضَكُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. This is Surah An-Nisa. He said, don't stop wishing for what preferences Allah has given some people over other people. Some people are just stronger than you are. Some people are smarter at some things than you are. Some people are better at business than you are. They opened up a restaurant and it took off. I opened a restaurant and I went bankrupt. It's not same neighborhood. I should have picked a different neighborhood at least. Right? So the first thing to get out of is comparison. And nobody else's life is going to play out like your life is going to play out. Allah has drawn and mapped out each of our lives differently. The second thing that we have to understand is that one person's blessing is another person's curse. The same thing. The same exact thing. You would think beauty is a blessing. Beauty, good looks are a blessing. Good looks got Yusuf alayhi salam in jail. You would think being strong is a blessing. Right? The strength of Musa alayhi salam is the reason he had to run away from Egypt. You would think, in some context, the same thing that you think is amazing is the very thing that can get you in a lot of trouble. That same thing. And for somebody else, it might even be a blessing. For some people, losing their job was the best thing that ever happened to them, but you would think losing a job is a terrible thing. But all these other opportunities opened up because they lost their job. For some other people, they lost their job and it's actually a difficulty. We don't know. So first, we cannot have a black and white definition of what is a blessing and what is a curse. What is a ni'mah, what is a naqma. We can't judge that. We don't know. This was the lesson Allah was teaching Musa alayhi salam through his journey in Surah Al-Kahf. What looks like a blessing might be a curse. What might be a curse looks like a blessing. You don't know. There's a long-term plan that Allah has. Wallahu ya'lamu wa antum la ta'lamun. Allah is the one who knows. You don't know. We don't know. And it may be asa an takrahu shay'an wa huwa khairun lakum. It could be you really don't like something, but it's good for you. Something good has come out of it. Asa an takrahu shay'an wa yaj'al Allahu fihi khairan kathira. It may be you don't like something, Allah has put a lot of good in it. So now we step back and I try to look at my life, you try to look at your life, and we understand it from a lens. And what's that lens? The two things I want to leave you with. One of them is this ayah that I started with. This is in Surah Al-Anbiya. Allah says, كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ. Every person shall be tasting death. That's bound to happen. In fact, ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ إِضَافَةً almost suggests as if you're already tasting it. Like every day, every breath is a small taste of death and we're inching towards it for the ultimate taste of it. That's already started. So instead of getting lost in if I had this, I would be happy, and even if you had that, death is coming and taking that away and you away. You understand? Like imagine somebody whose house is on fire and they're worried about, man, if I just had barbecue chicken right now, this would be so good. No, there's a fire approaching. It's coming. Right now, maybe the chicken would be nice, but maybe you need to think about getting out of this house right now. There's a bigger problem at hand. So first, Allah puts things in perspective. You don't have a lot of time, I don't have a lot of time. Death is coming and there's no way I can avoid it. It's on its way. Then he says, just because death is coming, by the way, I don't have to become depressed and dark and put like dark eyeliner underneath and start listening to heavy metal, emo music and like everything is gone, everyone's gonna die, you're gonna die, death. You don't have to do that. Allah says, وَلَنَبْلُوكُمْ, and we will absolutely test you. وَنَبْلُوكُمْ بِالشَّرِّ وَالْخَيْرِ. We will test you with good and bad. Actually, it literally says, we will test you with bad and good. We'll test you with bad and good. That's what Allah says. Death is coming, but before it comes, there's going to be a lot of bad things in your life, and there's going to be good things in your life, and that's Allah's plan for you. The idea that, oh my God, why did something bad happen to me? How come Allah let something bad happen to me? The same way Allah let many good things happen to you. That was part of the plan. What's supposed to happen. If I could just find a cheat code to not let anything bad ever happen to me ever, you're not getting ready for life. Luqman alayhi salam was teaching his child how to live as a believer in the Quran, like how to prepare him for life. And he's a kid. He's just a kid. You know what he told him? One of the things he told him is, وَاصْبِرْ عَلَى مَا أَصَابَكَ. Be patient, be strong, have grit over whatever hits you. Meaning life will hit you. Things will come. And you need to be patient with it. And it started with anishkur, be grateful to Allah is where we started. And in the same passage, he's telling his child, be ready for all the things life's going to be tough. I couldn't protect myself from the bad things that were going to come in my life. I'm in no position to protect my child. The only thing I can do is prepare my child. That's the only thing I can do, is prepare my child. Allah will test you with difficult situations, and with good, with hardship and with ease, with bad and with good. He will test you. I want to tell you a little bit before I let you go about the word test. The word test here is bala, nablukum, bala. It comes from the Arabic word baliya. And baliya was a weird twisted practice of the Arabs. When the Arabs had somebody died, some rich guy died, and they buried him, and he used to have a camel, they would tie the camel to his grave and not feed the camel and let it die. Like torture the camel by letting it die slowly by tying it to the grave of the guy who died. Okay? And the تعقل عند قبر صاحبها. سناقة تعقل عند قبر صاحبها. ولا تعفن. It's not fed, it's not given anything, let it die slowly. And it's going through a bala. The camel is going through a bala. It's being tested slowly and rigorously. Let's see how long it lasts. The word suggests that Allah will test us in a way that will essentially be a test of our stamina. Like you might survive the test today, but the test isn't over. It'll come again, and your ability to withstand that test is a little bit reduced tomorrow and a little bit reduced tomorrow. Or when Allah tests, and what does it mean? That we all know Allah tests with bad, but what does it mean Allah tests with good? Allah tests with good too, because when somebody gets hit with good, then they're like, I can afford to be a little bad. Allah is so good to me. I can afford it. A little bit. Come on, let me have some fun. You know, different kinds of tests. The good thing that happened to you might become the worst thing that ever happened to you because you failed the test. And the bad thing that happened to you might be the best thing that ever, because you passed the test. That could happen. And so he says, وَإِلَيْنَا تُرْجَعُونَ. And in the end, you're going to have to be returned to us. The dua I want to leave you with in this last minute. I said, we're pursuing happiness, we need to be pursuing purpose instead. You know, when we make Hajj, and we're doing tawaf, every time we come across the rukn, we say, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. This is a dua that almost everybody here knows. In this dua, we ask Allah for good and beautiful things in this life, and good and beautiful things in the next life. And actually, in the passage from which it comes in Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah says, وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ يَقُولُ رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا وَمَا لَهُ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنْ خَلَاقٍ. Some people, among them, they just say, Ya Allah, give me in this world. Ya Allah, I need a new car, I need a new job, I need this, I need this, I need this. All they're asking for. Allah says they will have nothing in the afterlife. That's pretty harsh. It sounds pretty hard. Ya Allah, I was just asking for a car. Why will I not have anything in the afterlife? Allah says, but then there are people who say, give me the best of this life, give me beautiful things in this life and beautiful things in the next life. What is this ayah teaching us? What is this dua teaching us? This dua is teaching us, Ya Allah, give me good things in this life that directly lead to good things in the next life. The good things in this life are truly good when they are purposeful. And how are they purposeful? They will benefit me in some way in the next life. Last thing, just because I know there's a lot of business people in our community, just as an analogy from a business perspective. There are some expenses you do that are, you just threw money down the toilet. You just burnt money, right? And then there are some expenses you do, it has depreciating value, it adds a value, there's a return on the investment, it's a long-term investment. Expenses are going to be expenses. But if you're going to have expenses anyway, might as well have the kind of expenses that will have some kind of return. So you make very smart choices about your expenses. That's the Qur'an's outlook on all of dunya. I'm going to experience this world anyway. Might as well experience this world in a way that whenever I'm experiencing doing something in this dunya, it is immediately and also simultaneously benefiting me in my akhirah. I'm not only thinking about dunya ever. I'm thinking about dunya and I'm connecting it always to my akhirah. And in this way, the Qur'an kept us from becoming materialistic. And this way, the Qur'an kept us from becoming, Catholic monks who don't care about the world. We actually get the best of both. And now they're purposeful. Imagine having a beautiful car, but you don't know how to drive. It's not a blessing anymore because you're not putting it to use. You use it to hang your clothes on it. It's not its purpose. Having a blessing only has purpose when you put it to use for something higher. And that's what the Qur'an is teaching us. Good and bad, we have to make the most of it. May Allah Azza wa Jal make us all people that live a life of Allah giving us the good of this world that leads to the good of the next. Barakallahu li wa lakum fil Qur'an al-Hakim wa nafa'ani wa iyyakum bi ayatihi wa